You have questions? America's #1 business coach has answers. It's your Broda from Minnesota. Here's another edition of Ask Clay Anything on the Thrive Time Business Coach Radio Show.
Yes, and yes. Dr. Breck, what the heck? How are you doing, sir?
I'm great, man. How are you doing, Clay?
I am fired up about today. Have you, Breck, been having a great weekend? You look like you've been having a great weekend.
I have. We've had a ball.
What kind of stuff have you, as the Breck family, been up to?
So right now, this season of life, we've got cheerleading every Saturday morning. So,
every Saturday?
Every Saturday. We've got 2 cheerleaders. We've got 3, but yesterday we had a second grader and a 4th grade game to attend and cheer for.
So you're attending games and your kids are cheering for the football team?
Yep, and we had 2 wins.
2 wins?
Yep.
Okay.
And Oklahoma State didn't play, so that was a win.
Okay, a win. Okay, a win for America. Jason, you're looking good today. Did you have a good Saturday?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
What highlights do you have here?
The highlights were I got over 300 products made for Elephant in the Room in the span of 2.5 hours.
Good.
That's a new record.
That's a win right there.
But after that, I had like a really nice, relaxing afternoon with my wife. I got my dog groomed, and she looks the best she's ever looked. And the best thing I could take away was
you got your dog groomed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. She's looking hot. She looks like a polar bear now.
This just in.
Yeah. But the biggest highlight was I introduced my wife to Wesley Snipes' Blade 2 because it's a classic and she's never seen it. So
really,
that's
a good
How was it received?
Great, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Wins all around.
Not divorced.
Okay, nice. Now, we have a question from a Thriver here who I'll kind of just read the description of what he's asking here. And I don't have the actual question. It was asked to one of our coaches, and thus it's been relayed to me. But this is the main question. He's wanting to know how to get his employees to get more work done. How to get his employees, how to get his guys, quote unquote, to be more productive on the job. He's grown from having a couple of guys on his team last year to now having 13 guys working on the jobs. And so I'm going to lay out some specific instruction for this person. And then Dr. Breck, you could explain maybe why this would be hard to do.
Okay.
All
Do
right.
we know what industry he's in?
He's in construction, remodeling and construction.
Kind of had that sound.
So step number 1, and Jason, if you'll type these on the show notes here. So step number 1 is we want to define the expectations. So Dr. Breck, let's go to drbreck.com. We're now in your offices.
Right.
You're a chiropractor. When you define the expectations that your team has, why is that part difficult to do? Just to define the expectations. Because there had to be a time in your business at some point before you became super successful where you had people on your team not getting their work done or not being very productive, and you had to define expectations. Talk to us about the difficulties of defining expectations for the first time.
I think really for me, for the first time, it's about still trying to be likable and not wanting to be the heavy and coming down with the iron fist. And I kind of you find that balance of how much assertiveness and coming down hard versus just really being a better leader by giving them a clearer path. And that's what I think I had initially failed to do, was give them a clear path as to what I do expect, what is supposed to be done, what I'm going to measure, what I'm going to follow up on.
So you're saying that being likable was tough because
it was a hindrance.
You worried about being likable.
Right.
Jason, I think we have a boom book over there by the printer.
Yeah.
And if we don't, it could be a short research project. But if you have it, I would encourage you to grab it and bring it over here. But if you don't, that's okay. But for our listener, I would encourage you to go to thrivetimeshow.com and click on the podcast button, and then you'll see the boom book where you can download that book. And I would recommend that you have a copy of that book, because what Dr. Breck just said is 100% true 100% of the time. And I have found that it's easier if you just resolve in your mind that you're not going to be liked, but you are not going to mistreat your people. But if you just put in your mind that being liked is not essential to success. So let me give you an example. Breck, you have kids.
I do.
I know that your kids would never violate the Breck rules.
Never.
But only my family would. My kids would.
Right.
Your family's perfect.
Yeah.
But I have found that whenever I tell my kids, hey, we're not going to eat any ice cream. No ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And they eat ice cream. They don't do this anymore, but back in the day, you would say, don't eat ice cream, and then they would eat the ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, when I disciplined my kids and I said, okay, because you have violated the rules and you clearly knew the expectations, this consequence is going to happen. Do you think that they were big fans of me as I was laying down the law?
Oh, of course not. Nobody really likes cause and effect, especially if they knew what was going to happen.
You're saying that my kids don't like discipline?
I would venture to say yes.
Now, you have managed the Elephant in the Room stores. To put it in perspective for our listener out there, you've managed thousands of customers.
True.
And dozens of employees at different locations.
Yeah.
What kinds of moments are there during the workday where a member of the team might not like you when you hold them accountable to the expectations?
Well, for instance, let's say if there is like a lull, and this kind of goes back to my brief answer to his question, is if we are ever experiencing like towards the end of the month, it gets super slow. All of our members have already come in the first week to 2-3 weeks. And so in that last week gap, it gets really, really slow. And so people kind of want to like stand around in front of their station, waddle back and forth, check their phone. But we have these massive checklists saying, hey, we have time to lean, we have time to clean. So I'm going to need you to do.
If we have time to what?
If we have time to lean, we have time to clean.
Oh, come on now. That's hot.
I like that.
So continue.
Yeah, and so I'll just hand them a checklist and say, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this, and you're not busy, so I need you to do this, this, and this. And they're like, well, how come we can't just have a break?
And the vast majority of our team is great.
Yeah.
But there are certain people that don't want to get the work done, even when they know the expectations.
Right.
Sure.
So I want to read this notable quotable to our listener from page 163 of the Boom Book, which reads from John D. Rockefeller, the world's wealthiest man during his lifetime. He reads, he wrote, "The ability to deal with people is as purchasable a commodity as sugar or coffee, and I will pay more for that ability than any other under the sun." So one, define the expectation, step one. But just note as a thought here, it's going to be difficult because people will not like you
Right.
when you enforce the policies. Now, step two, clearly define the carrots and the sticks. All right? Clearly define the good things and the bad things that will happen to you when you get your work done.
Right.
Now, I worked construction. Breck, have you ever worked in construction before?
I have.
What kind of construction did you do?
Well, so my dad, he was the superintendent of schools. And so
Yep.
anytime there was a work project or some kind of renovation, he just sort of volunteered my young back for the hard labor part. So we did concrete block, like cinder block construction stuff, projects. So I got to be the one who carried and moved the blocks. So we did some ditch digging, literally, to put in a sprinkler system in the football field. And then
Well,
some concrete, which I really don't like, bent over. And
see,
so it makes me appreciate chiropractic all the more now.
I did concrete where we would pour the basements. We'd pour
Yeah.
we'd get these big aluminum forms. They were about 6 feet tall, maybe 7 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
They were aluminum, and you would assemble them on footings that had been poured into a hole that was about 10 feet deep in Minnesota because we were pouring basements.
Right.
And my job was to help cut all the rebar and help erect the forms, and then they could pour the concrete in those structures. And that was my job. And I had an incredible boss named Peter. And Peter would let us know that we could make and again, it's been a long, long time, but approximately it was like $200 per basement that we poured, or $10 an hour. And so we had deep thoughts like, what does this mean? And, so some guys couldn't stand the fact that we got $200 per basement. They would rather just make $10 an hour.
Sure.
And I pointed out to him, like a couple of guys, and I wasn't a leader at all. I was just a guy on the crew, but I was pointing out to one of the new guys, look, we can make $20 an hour if we go double the speed. And it's very possible to get paid $200 every 10 hours if we just go faster.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the vast majority of the people on the team did not like the rules. They didn't like that idea.
Right.
He gave us the opportunity to double our income. And I guess he didn't give us the opportunity. He said, this is, you could make $10 an hour or $200 per pour. And so I am going to now, via decree, I'm now going to tell you that's how it's going to work. You're now going to get paid $200 per pour. And the reason why is because I don't want you spending 24 hours doing something that we could easily get done in 10.
Right.
And the vast majority of the people on our crew did not want the carrot. Jason, why do you think, because at Elephant in the Room, you can get bonuses for gathering objective reviews.
Oh, yeah.
For selling memberships, for upselling products or upserving products, for you get tipped, actually. If people are happy, you get tipped more. But even though there are carrots, Why do some people, now the vast majority of our team at this point, because we have done the group interview for years, we have a great team now. Mm-hmm. But by default, why do the vast majority of people not want accountability?
Well, one, some people just don't like vegetables. But nice. I think when it comes to like the whole like incentives and being able to pursue the carrot, like you're dangling it.
By the way, can you repeat that joke one more time, please?
Why people don't want the carrots because some people just don't like vegetables.
Okay, all right. I didn't give that the love it deserved. Okay, continue, please. Sorry about that.
But no, when it comes to like the incentives, like the $200 an hour or the $200 per job, doubling your pay just for working twice as fast, or the multiple incentives that our stylists can get, some people just find it too quote unquote hard or difficult. And if they say, okay, well, if I do this amount of work, I'm guaranteed this pay. So why do anything else?
All right, so step one, define those expectations. Again, management consists of your ability to get the members of your team to execute your business plans, systems, and processes with excellence. Step two, clearly define the carrots and the sticks. Now, step three, this is the part you don't want to do. Not you, our listener wants to do this, but most people don't want to do this. It's follow up and physics. Physics? Yes. You see, physics, a lot of times in physics, you find that there are certain rules and principles that you could apply to business as well. But there's two objects that are in motion, right? Mm-hmm. One's going one way and one's going the other. And the object that has the stronger force keeps on moving, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if there's two objects in motion, right? Whenever one object encounters something stronger than it, it may make it stop or go the other way. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you've got employees on your team who intentionally they choose not to be productive, they're going to choose to continue to be unproductive until they come into encounter with a stronger force. Breck, you've seen this before.
Oh, yeah.
So now we've laid out the expectations. We've clearly defined the carrots and the sticks, but there are certain people that are going to push the envelope, push the line, and they will not stop doing the jackassery until they encounter a stronger force. Have you seen this phenomenon, Dr. Breck?
Absolutely, yeah.
How do you deal with it?
Even this week.
Even this week? Wow.
Yeah, we had a little situation between massage therapists. And again, it kind of goes back to that resolve to be the stronger force. And so, we had to deal with some things just 2 days ago.
I deal with this on a constant basis, which is created the problem that it is me. It's created the personality type that is mine. Is that seriously? Mm-hmm. I lay out, and Jason, you've seen this before. We have on our search engine team. Right now, we have a great team. Do we not? We have a great team over there.
Oh, we have an awesome team.
Ben's been on the team for 12 months.
Right.
How did he go from being an entry-level start guy to being the head of an entire department in less than a year? How did he do that?
Well, you laid out the path. He looked at the path and said, that's cool. I can follow that, but what else can I do?
And if you're on the search engine team, your job is to do what?
Write search engine articles.
Interesting. So in this past year, I've had members of the team say, I know that my job is to write search engine articles, but is there something else I can do?
Yeah.
And I say, no, but I appreciate you. You're a great American. If at any point you do not want to write search engine articles anymore, do them really, really well, and you may get promoted, or stop doing them and you'll get fired. But these are the options. And we have unbelievable turnover on the search engine team on the first week of somebody's career. Now, once they get past the first week, we have a lot of tenure. People will stick around for years because they make a lot of money per hour. It's a great opportunity. And if they do a great job, they can get promoted. So Ben literally just came to work every day and did his job, and other people around him did not do their job. And Jason, when somebody won't do their job on the search engine team, what do you think I do?
You got to cut them.
And then the person who I cut goes and tells their family member. They don't say, hey, family, I got fired today because I was choosing not to do my job. They usually say something like what, Jason? What do you think they normally tell people around them when they get fired from a job?
Well, it just wasn't fair. The hours were crazy, and they gave me so much work, and I asked to do something else, and they were just really mean to me.
And then they go on Glassdoor, and they leave a review. They tell their family. And then when I go to church on Sunday or Saturday, Life Church, I run into them.
In the bathroom.
Or their parents or their spouse. I was at Walmart a couple Thanksgivings ago, and I ran into a guy who I fired the week of Thanksgiving years before. It was a great little way to rekindle that relationship. But he was scheduled to DJ somebody's wedding on the Friday after Thanksgiving, and he called in on Wednesday and said, I can't do it. I have family stuff I'm doing, And so what do you think I did, Jason? If a guy is refusing to DJ for a wedding that he is promised to do a year in advance, the day after Thanksgiving, he says, I'm not going to do it. So I wanted you to know, just calling in. I get a voicemail from the guy the day before Thanksgiving. Boss, I can't DJ on Friday. I'm so sorry. I had some family stuff come up. If a guy can't DJ on the events he's promised to DJ, what am I going to do?
Well, I mean, if you can't do your job, you most likely will not have a job the next day.
So I called him back on the eve of Thanksgiving, and I said, hey, I understand you don't want to do the job. He said, no, I want to do the job. I just can't do the job because family stuff came up. And I said, you're a disc jockey, which is why you're making hundreds of dollars per show. Somebody's planning on you being there. So somebody else now has to ruin their plans to cover for you. So are you telling me you for sure will not do the event? And he said, yes. And so I fired him. And and his wife pointed out to me with great detail in the shopping line and the self-checkout area of Walmart that I fired him on Thanksgiving years ago.
Well, the day before.
And so this right here was a great way to rekindle that relationship. So I'm just saying,
You'll
you
always
have to,
have Thanksgiving together.
that's right. But if your goal is to be liked, you cannot manage a team.
Right.
No.
You can't. Now, Colton, you're joining us. Colton's a former client, and you, my friend, served in the U.S. military. Am I correct?
That's correct.
What were you doing in the military?
A couple different things. Yeah.
What was your what branch of the military were you in?
United States Marine Corps? Hoorah!
Really?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I'm scared.
You should be.
So tell us about the process of becoming a Marine. Do they let anybody join? I mean, if you just sign up and put your hand up, how many of you guys want to be Marines? I mean, what percentage of people that want to be Marines get to be Marines?
1% actually.
Whoa.
So 1 out of every 100 people that want to be a Marine?
Yes, sir.
And do you have to be in the Navy first before applying to be in the Marines, or how does that work?
No. It's a completely different branch, but they say it's a department of the Navy. But there's a lot of rigorous training that happens before you can even go into boot camp. So you have to be able to do at least 10 push-ups. Pull-ups, 10 pull-ups. You have to be able to do 100 crunches. And you have to be able to run 3 miles in under 21 minutes.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the process, and we'll have Jason take notes here, okay? So if I want to join the Marines today, what are the steps? Just walk me through this. What's step 1?
Step 1 is going to the recruiter's office, and
I'm going on Monday, baby. So
Yeah.
I'm going in there. All right, I'm 38, and I apply. Right? You apply?
Yes.
What?
Yeah,
Is there certain age limits?
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I don't know if you qualify at 38.
It's 28 is the top.
So you're saying there's a chance.
All right. So step 1, though, you apply.
Yep.
And then what's step 2?
Then you have to actually test out. So you have to be to become part of the pulley program, which is where they, filter out all the people who shouldn't be in the Marine Corps, and you're doing your runs and you're getting your PFT.
So it's like a physical test?
Physical test, yeah. PFT is what it's called.
What does PFT stand for?
Physical fitness test.
Didn't you eat last night, Jason, at PFTs?
PF Chang's. PFCs.
Oh, my bad. Okay. All right. So anyway, so you go ahead and then you see if you physically are capable.
Yes, sir.
Then what's the next step?
Then you have to go and get physically examined by a doctor.
Okay.
To make sure that you
So
can.
we're going over to Breck's office.
There you go.
Okay,
There you
Dr.
go.
Breck,
And
okay.
they're checking you out and making you cough and.
Okay.
all
So
that stuff.
after you do that, what happens?
Then you get on a bus and you, if you pass all the tests, you get on a bus and you go to, if San Diego or the East Coast, West Coast.
Okay. Then what
And
happens?
Is that for basic?
That's for basic. That's for boot camp. Yes, sir. And then you're there for 3 months, and you're
But when you're
you're
there,
stuck.
They
You're in-
stamp you with owned by Uncle Sam.
That's exactly what
you're in
happens.
San Diego.
Yes. Yep.
Oh,
That's where I was
great.
at.
Great weather. It's got to be relaxing. What kind of stuff are you guys doing over there?
Well, we're literally right next to the airport, and so while we're dying, we're watching planes take off and.
Now, I've got some
back
audio. I've got some audio. real
Wishing
quick.
you were on them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm being serious though. So you're over there and you're getting trained, and is it a good time?
Looking back, absolutely, but while you're there, it is the what you would consider hell.
Why?
Just because you have authority that is always on you, you have to request.
But what kind
a
of crap
certain-
are you doing? What kind of crap are you doing? What's the toughest part? I want to hear specifically. What are you doing?
Okay, well, if you make any kind of mistake, we go out into the sand and we make sugar cookies, which is where you lay down on your belly and you have to spit in the sand and then pick it up with your mouth.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
And then what kind of relaxing exercises are you doing with these big wood posts I'm seeing here? What kind of fun things are these? I think they're called Hell Week, I think.
Yeah. So we're getting to run in the sand with these giant giant logs on our shoulders.
This seems like a lot of fun here.
Sure. Yeah.
For 5 minutes, maybe.
Now, what are all you guys doing in the water? It seems kind of cold. Why don't you guys hop in a hot tub or something?
Well, that's a good question. They're preparing us for battle. They're preparing us for war, and nothing is easy in war, especially when you have bullets flying at you. And so they have to prepare you to all lengths possible.
I would like for you to this microphone's hot though, so if you get too loud, the mic tends to peak, so you got to back up a little bit. But walk us through, what does a drill sergeant, is that who's leading the exercises, by the way?
Drill instructor.
Drill instructor.
Yes, sir.
What kind of motivational phrases do they say that you can repeat?
Oh my gosh.
Just give us a few. Just give us a flashback.
This is a family-friendly show,
It is,
right?
but you just got to make sure when you're really loud, you just got to kind of step away from the mic a little bit so it doesn't pop a little bit there. So what kind of motivational phrases do they say? I just want to hear. I just would like to know.
Goodness, I don't know if I can say any of them.
Just give
like
you can say boop if you need to. But just back up a little bit from the mic when you do it.
Okay, get on your boop face. That was hot. Sorry.
There we go. It's okay. We can try it again. Do it again.
Get on your boop face.
All the time?
All the time. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, all the time.
What about if you're like tired and you're carrying that log around and it's just not going well? What does he say?
I think it goes something like this.
Beep 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 beep. It would be
It's just Morse code.
really hot mic.
What was the hardest physical part of the whole thing for you? Physical.
So at the very, very end, the last week, it's called the Crucible. And so what we do is the Crucible. And we go up on this mountain in San Diego, and we're literally like on a cliff, and we have to basically live out there for a week. And we get about 4 hours of sleep, which I guess is nothing for you, but
I sleep 6 hours every day, by the way.
Oh, do you really? Okay.
I just go to bed at 9. Wake up
well,
at 3.
we're in what's called a hooch, but it's really a tent that should only sleep one person, but there's 2 of us in there. Nut to butt is what we call it.
Oh, nice.
And
no, this is good. This is a good look into the Marines. I like this.
Yeah. So, and then we're waking up, and they have all these different type of activities that we have to do, and it all comes from our history. So you'll hear like a history lesson on why we're doing this, and a specific Marine who lost his life because he did this. And, for instance, there was one guy who woke up in the middle of the night and they were being ambushed in Vietnam, and he killed everybody. Sorry, this is a little morose. He killed everybody who was coming into their camp with what's called an e-tool, which is a shovel.
Whoa.
And that is historical fact. And so
he killed the bad guys?
He killed the bad guys
with a shovel?
Stealthily, yes.
Was his name John Rambo? No, he was a Green Beret, wasn't he?
He was, yes.
Oh, okay.
This really happened, though.
This really happened.
And so you're learning all these things, and you said 1% of the people make it. So do most people quit, or do they get kicked out of the Marines?
No, so the 1% that I was talking about, they don't even that's from the process of the pulley program all the way through boot camp, and then once you become a Marine at the very end. So when you're in boot camp, they've filtered it out so well that out of a battalion of 90 guys, maybe 70 actually become Marines at that point. So.
At that point. And if you don't like the exercises, can you quit?
No.
What happens if you try to quit?
Well, actually, there was a guy who ran away. He jumped the fence, and they found him.
Would have done that.
They found him at a McDonald's.
I would be in a Canadian McDonald's. I would be in a Canadian McDonald's
eating poutine, hiding from your problems.
Keep going. Keep telling us the story.
And then he spent the rest of his enlistment in the brig, which is like jail.
Is the brig a division of McDonald's?
No.
Gosh, see,
although some McDonald's you might think so.
All I'm just saying is, if you're out there want to make sure we get this idea. And the Marines, they don't ask you guys, do you want to do the workouts?
Oh, no.
And if you think about the NBA, great coaches like Belichick, the NFL, great coaches like Belichick, or in the NBA, great coaches like Popovich, they're not asking the guys if they want to do push-ups or burpees or workouts. And most people say they don't like their boss. Is that shocking to you, Dr. Breck, that most people don't like their boss?
Not at all.
So you don't want to do mean things, but if your number one goal is to be liked, you can't do it.
Nope.
It's not possible. You're chasing a mirage, a unicorn. Jason, when did it occur to you that it was not possible to be liked by everyone? Now, again, we're keeping this fair and balanced.
Yeah.
An elephant in the room, we pay people really well. We drop off coffee for the stylist. We check on them. We do tip matching from time to time. Mm-hmm. And the vast majority of the people, I would say 95% of the team right now, are great people who I know really do like you.
Oh, yeah.
But there is always one or two people that don't like you. When did it become clear to you that you could not get everyone to like you?
When I first started managing, it was kind of like a gray area. I was still trying to be that likable guy, so I didn't see it. But then once I started to do more implementation that like you gave me and started holding myself more accountable and following up with the team, the shift occurred. And I started seeing people not like me as much. And then as I stayed diligent and got promoted, that's when it really started to kind of sink in. And it wasn't everybody, but it was like, every now and then I've actually warned people. We've had 2 stylists that want to be managers now. I let them know. I'm like, hey, that little friend base you have going on right now, that's going to change like that the second you become a manager. So I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, and it's just the first time you have to tell a coworker, hey, you need to fold towels right now.
Yeah.
Or you need to clean the bathroom, not hop on your phone.
Right.
And they're like, are you kidding me?
Who are you?
Who are you? I'm 40 years old. You can't tell me to get. So I'm just telling you, enforcing the rules can make it difficult. So I'm going to give you a notable quotable from Elon Musk, who says, one lesson I learned while starting PayPal is to fire people faster. It sounds awful. I think if somebody is not working out, it's best to part ways sooner rather than later.
Totally
read that
agree.
Again. He says, one lesson I learned at PayPal is to fire people faster. That sounds awful. I think if somebody's not working out, it's best to part ways sooner rather than later. So let's recap the rules one more time so make sure we're getting some good education on this podcast station. Ooh, you said it there.
That's a nice rhyme.
I could rhyme 2 times in a row if I had to.
Oh, I've seen it.
Okay. So step 1, though, define the expectations. Define the expectations. Be very, very clear as to what you expect. Mm-hmm. And let's put some detail on this. We need checklists. I need call scripts. I need a manual. I need checklists, call scripts, a manual. If it's construction, if it's hands-on, you want to train your guys, role play with the guys over and over and over until they can't possibly do it wrong. With the DJs, I used to have them set up the equipment and take it down over and over and over until they couldn't possibly get it wrong. I used to practice announcements until you couldn't get it wrong. It's very much like DJ boot camp. You got to define the expectations. Now, step 2, clearly define the carrots and sticks, the rewards and the penalties. Clearly define those. And 3, follow up in physics. You must be the strongest force. Otherwise, people will run over you. Mm-hmm. Just on Friday, I had 2 weird situations on Friday. Mm-hmm. Someone said, do you have a moment? I was very nice. I feel like I was nice, but I don't think they perceive it that way. Mm. I said, but they asked the question, do I have a moment? That was the question. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't, because I'm doing an interview with the One Thing podcast. That's Gary Keller's podcast, Keller Williams, and they asked me to be on the show. So I said, I've got to be on the show here with Jeff Woods, the host. I cannot. I told him why I can't. Right. I told this young lady I cannot because I'm going to be on this podcast. Then I finished the podcast, and she notices that I'm making my way to the restroom, and then she sees me come out of the restroom, just wash my hands, and she says, "Do you have a moment?" And I said, I don't, because I'm hopping into a meeting right now with a dentist. And she said, but it's what time is the meeting? Now, the meeting with the dentist, I think, is like at noon. And it was like 11:58 or something. And I said, I meet this person, and like they're literally walking in. Oh. And I said, but you could talk to John. That's his job. He's available. Yeah. But it's really personal. I'm like, well, anything personal we can talk about as a group out in the open with John on Monday at our staff meeting.
Away from the bathroom.
But seriously, I'm not going to have, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was very nice to the person, but they were not happy about it.
Right.
And I wanted them to be happy about it, but they weren't. And then it occurred to me, my job requires pissing someone off every day. It's like on my checklist. Step 1, piss someone off. Step 2, get things done. Step 3, yay, day. I mean, it's every day.
Let's
Is
just
it
get
not,
that
Brett?
part out of the way. Yeah.
Is it not true?
Well, yeah. I mean, the situation on Friday, we had gone from throwing a baby shower for one of our massage therapists who's expecting twins,
Oh, yeah.
to almost immediately right after the shower dealing with the other massage therapist who has a problem. So, yeah, I mean, it was from, highlight to low light.
There's one guy out there. Hope he listens to this show so he can hear this because this is so funny. He applied for a job in our call center, and he came to the group interview, nailed it, shadowed, nailed it, on the phones, nailing it. Works next to Daisy, who's been nailing it for years, and next to another young man, Tim, who was nailing it.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point, he confided in, I think it was Daisy. He says, it's like all we do here is answer the phones. I hate this place. It's like brainwashing. It's like a cult. We all read the same script. It's like brainwashing. I mean, seriously, all we do is make calls.
In a call center.
Right.
You have some nerve, Clay.
Yeah.
So he's just telling everybody, I cannot believe it. And it said on the job, on the now hiring post, that we could earn up to 18 an hour, and I'm only making like 12 an hour. And so Daisy's like, well, here's the deal: you get paid per appointment you book. You get paid based on, it's merit-based pay. You get paid based on what you do. Well, that's screwed up. I can't believe that. I can't believe this. Are you kidding me? It said I could earn up to 20 an hour. I'm only making 12. She's like, well, you got to do your job. Are you kidding me? So it doesn't work with her. So she tells me, hey, this guy's complaining. And but not before he complained to, I think, 3 or 4 other people.
Right.
So by like noon that day, I had multiple people come up to me and say, hey, this guy over here is complaining about the job. And so I walked up to the young man and I said, hello, sir. I understand you don't like your job. He says, well, I know. I don't like making calls. I feel like you said on the job post that it said now hiring in the call center and we're looking for people with sales and management experience. And I feel like all I do is make calls. And I'm like, well, this is what you do is a call center. And he just had that look of he was so mad. And I said, well, you know what you're going to do? You need to quit, or I need to fire you. Something has to happen. Well, how do you want to frame it? Do you want to say you quit or we're fired? Because you can go either way. And he's like, I'm going to be all over the internet, buddy, and walks out. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
This is at least once every 2 weeks this conversation happens. So again, how do you make your team more productive? 1, you define the expectations. 2, you clearly define the carrots and sticks. 4, you follow up in physics. Now step 4, kind of a bonus blasty blast. We can never stop recruiting. Dr. Breck, tell us about the power of the group interview, the power of interviewing relentlessly, the power.
So I was a little reluctant initially, thinking that the group interviews would be a waste of time.
Yep.
We don't typically have a lot of turnover. We don't have a large staff.
You have a lot of people who stick around at your business for a long time. A lot of tenure, very little turnover once people are established. Same thing with my business, but we never stop the group interview, right?
Right. Well, that's what I mean. And so I thought initially, we're a staff of about 10.
10, yeah.
And, I'm thinking, well, maybe, that works for people who are 50 or 80 because there's more turnover, there's more people. But as time went on, I started to realize more and more the benefit of the group interview. And just recently really realized the benefit when I had to replace 2 people around the same time. And so we were able to get people hired, go through the whole process. I think we had like 250 applicants for one position and 150 before I cut it off for a second position.
Wow.
And we were able to work through and process that within just a couple of weeks, and we were able to go on vacation during that same time frame, and we've got 2 new people that are hired and doing a great job. And so I definitely see the benefit of the group interviews now, and we'll continue to do them ongoing.
Have you ever checked out that book called The Bible there, Dr. Breck?
I have, yeah.
It's a controversial book, very, very offensive for a lot of people.
I'm a big fan.
A lot of people, in the moment I say the word Bible, they're... Are you kidding me? You mean living a life of standards? I hate that. So anyway, Matthew chapter 26, verse 21 reads, and while they were eating, Jesus said, truly I tell you, one of you will betray me.
Mm-hmm.
This is like owning a business. So what happens is I'm going to give you the stats out there that aren't that awesome, that hopefully would motivate somebody out there. According to CBS News, and Jason put these on the show notes here, according to CBS News and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, 75% of employees steal from the workplace, and most do so repeatedly. So in the construction field, I want to give you unique action steps that apply just to you. So Jason, I'm going to give him unique action steps just for the construction industry. Or an industry where your people work in the field. 1, put a GPS device on every work truck. You have to know where your people are going. And I'm just telling you, get ready for not positive things to happen when you discover where your people are going.
I had that happen with one of my contractors this week.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Were his people going to McDonald's?
Well, no, he went on vacation, so he hired a new job manager.
Yep.
And it's super sneaky because everybody sees this like he's like a 22-year-old kid. So
Super
like, oh,
sneaky.
he's just like, he's an apprentice. Well, lo and behold, he's doing a ride-along with one of the contractors. Guy drives way outside where he's supposed to be and starts token up in the work truck.
Token up?
In front of the kid who's like,
Led Zeppelin!
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin!
But that guy is a quality employee, so he's like, hey, I'll be your GPS and I'll tell you what's happening.
When you said toke, what do you mean?
Um,
Some people call me the space
exactly.
cowboy.
Steve Miller, jazz
Yeah.
cigarettes.
You talking about like smoking
Talking the old Cheech and
ganja,
Chong action.
smoking ganja.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Wow. You serious?
Yeah.
In the work truck?
In the work truck.
No.
With
Now-
the label emblazoned all over the side of the truck.
Right, exactly.
Now, I have worked with a pharmaceutical sales company back in the day. I've worked with many of them, actually. We put GPS vehicles on the cars, and we found out that their top guys were actually going to lunch at Night Trips, which is a local, I don't know why they call it a gentleman's club, because the only people that go there are not gentlemen.
Not gentlemen.
That's true.
Yeah.
So it's a local ass face club.
I
So it's a
mean,
club where ass
technically.
faces go. So if you're somebody who's a man of ill repute with no standards and you want to watch women dance around on poles, that's where you go.
And it takes like a 4-hour lunch.
Steak and eggs. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
anyway,
no, it was legs and
Legs
legs.
and eggs.
steaks and legs. Steaks and legs. There's steaks and
Eggs and legs.
This
The-
just
the-
in. I
the rhyme.
gotta really get more well researched for my stripper references. But anyway, you put a GPS on your vehicles and you find out where they're going. Second thing you want to do, if possible, is you want to set up a camera on the job sites. Now, this is powerful. There are cameras out there, guys, you can put on the job sites. You just use a Nest camera, plug it into an outlet, and have a mobile, what's the word I'm looking for? A hotspot.
Hotspot,
You can get
yeah.
one of those from T-Mobile for like $45 a month, and you can watch your guys on the job site horking or not horking. But you have to have cameras up if possible and GPS in the vehicles. You've got to do it. And you want to install call recording, because will they take jobs on the side? Oh, yes. Yes, they will. Other facts are just negative facts.
Especially since I have your tools and your materials.
Now, Inc. Magazine reports that 85% of job applicants now lie on their resumes. 85% of job applicants now lie on their resumes. Now, I have other stats that aren't that exciting, but if you have an office team out there, team of people that work in an office environment, you want to put keystroke recording on the computers. And there's a program called Active Track. It's ACTIV, track, TRAK.com. And Active Track will allow you to see what your employees are typing during the workday. And if you need to record their calls, and you do, use a company called Clarity, CLARITY, clarityvoice.com, clarityvoice.com to record the calls. But for as little as $7.20 per month, you can see what your employees are typing on their computer. It's called Active Track.
So with that typing track, Active Track,
Yeah.
is that something where you preset the filter to pick up on certain
Yes.
keywords or strokes? Or?
Yes, and it actually shows you a pie chart at any given time
Okay.
of where, or a bar graph of where people are spending most of their time.
So
And that's very helpful.
Yeah.
But according to this little organization, this little research that was done here by Ken Blanchard, perhaps you know of the book called The 1 Minute Manager. This is Ken Blanchard's group, the New York Times bestselling author. They decided to monitor 1,300 private sector companies. And they found that 41% of the average employee's day was spent not working. 41% of the day, meaning you can almost double your workforce just by causing people to not screw around at work. Other fun stats, these are just really encouraging stats. Right now, according to Harvard Health Publications, 18% of people are now insane, meaning that they are on some kind of drug. Back in the 80s, if you had OCD or you had ADD, they would say something like, hey, well, Bobby, why don't you shut the hell up and get back to work? But now people are on a drug of some kind. And it turns out that, Dr. Breck, when you have a mind-altering drug in your system and you drink coffee,
Yes.
or you have a mind-altering drug in your system and you drink, let's say, a lot of coffee, or maybe you have a mind-altering drug to help you with your OCD or your ADD, and maybe you have a Tylenol. What could happen?
Well, these drugs interact in your body, and it's kind of different for different people depending on your own body chemistry. So it's sort of like a chemistry set where nobody really knows exactly what's going to happen because every person's a little bit different.
Which causes
but it's
insanity.
not good.
Not good.
So, I mean, and you got to throw in the antidepressant, anti-anxiety drugs with that because, again, they're altering the mind.
18% of people are insane. This just in from our home office. Now, another fun stat, Newsweek decided to do a big expose on what's going on with smartphone usage. And the article was called iCrazy. Like iPhone, little lowercase iCrazy. You can put a link to that there, Jason, iCrazy. And their cover story showed that 25% of employees look at adult content every day at work.
25%?
Yes.
Wow.
1 out of 4. So what you have is a situation where whether you have a group of guys working in the construction industry or you have an office team of people working in the medical industry, you and I, step 1, we have to define expectations. Step 2, we have to clearly define the carrots and sticks. Step 3, we have to follow up in physics. Step 4, we got to do that group interview process because the vast majority of people, 75% of employees are stealing, 85% of people lie on resumes. The vast majority of people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing without relentless accountability. Jason, is that shocking to you?
It was before, but then like being on like a manager level and seeing it, I'm like, this happens a lot. So
Yes.
I would say to anybody who hasn't experienced it yet, I mean, it's going to happen and it's going to freak you out, but then you just have to, like you said, if you have these steps in place, you're not going to be surprised by it.
Breck.
Well, since cell phones have the potential to be a problem in so many different ways, do you have a practical application for how you handle cell phones?
I have the Disney rule from the Walt Disney World Resorts and the same rule they have at Southwest Airlines. I ban the use of cell phones at work.
Okay. So if it's ever out or anything, that
right
it
there is a
in and of itself.
violation.
Yeah.
Because what happens is it's like, well, what if my wife needs to reach me?
Right.
Then have her call the office. Right? But what if I want to sext with my lover? Well, then don't bring your iPhone. What if? But it starts off with what if my boyfriend needs to reach me? Well, then they can call the office. But what they're really saying is, what if I want to sext dirty photos back and forth? And I say this because these are real examples.
True.
Back when I ran the photography company, I have a funny story that didn't end well. It's really funny now. But this young woman brought her cell phone to work, and I guess she said, I need to have my cell phone. I need to charge my cell phone. I need it because of ABC. And I wasn't part of the conversation, but apparently she told her manager she needed to charge her cell phone. Well, you know how there's like AirDrop. Can you explain what AirDrop is, Jason?
So AirDrop is when you can connect it to iPhone or to like your phone to a Mac, but essentially it's like a wireless cloud where you can send things without having to worry about like SMS. So if you're attached to Wi-Fi, you can like digitally share a file or back it up.
Now, we had a wedding photography business, so we edited photos of weddings. And at some point, apparently she shared accidentally her nude photo gallery with the editing team. So the team is sitting down to edit, and they're like, whoa.
This wedding got weird.
No. And they realize who it is.
This is our friend,
And, and so multiple people came to me and said, look, the person next to me has like, I'm seeing all their naked photos. They're on everyone's computers. What do we do? That happened. Wow. So that's a real thing. Another example that, again, while we ban the use of smartphones.
I'm thinking even just the productivity loss for social media and things.
Oh, my gosh. There's just so much. I'm working on this book right now that I just... it's just beating me up right now. This book is just absolutely eating my soul. But it's called Trade Ups, and it's how to gain traction in a world of perpetual digital distraction. But right now, let me look it up real quick. I want to have the stats here. It's 85. Is it 85? Yeah. According to Psychology Today, the average person is now interrupted by their smartphone 85 times per day. The average person is interrupted by their smartphone 87 times per day, and that is according to Psychology Today. The article you can link to, Jason, is called Why Your Smartphone is Destroying Your Life. That's pretty harsh. You know, destroy is kind of a harsh word. Destroy? Well, maybe that's true.
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to play the audio for you. This is a group of people. This is Levi Gable. His company's called GEI, USA.com, GEI-USA.com. He's explaining the value of the group interview. Here we go. Tune it up. Hit and play.
Before we started the group interview process,
I got to make this louder. I got to tell you what. Okay, this is this first guy here. Let's see here.
Took a ton of time.
This is Jeffrey for WIDA.
Before we started the group interview process, interviews took a ton of time, and we had no formal process.
Architectsinmichigan.com.
It always took 2 hours of my day, or they
Chad Ward with One Way Plumbing says,
wouldn't show up.
I was very skeptical of it. I didn't think people would show up to it.
that's Brandon Brown of Spot On Plumbing. He says that, let me cue it up again here.
People would show up to it. I didn't think people would show up to it. Didn't think people would
I think he's
show up to
trying
it.
to tell us he thinks people wouldn't show up to it.
My first thoughts were
Aaron Antis with Shaw Homes, shawhomes.com, the largest home builder in Oklahoma. This is Aaron Antis, the marketing director. He's explained to you what he thought about the group interview.
Show up to it.
my first thoughts were this can't possibly work.
I was reluctant at first.
Oh, that's you, Dr.
just 'cause
Breck.
It seemed awkward. It
I know
seemed
that voice.
strange. It was a new idea.
Life before the group interview was chaotic and stressful.
That's Guy Shepard. Guy Shepard with Shepard Automotive.
Oh yeah.
Crazy, wasting 70% of my time that I scheduled for interviews.
Levi Gable saying he's wasting 70% of the time he's scheduled for interviews.
After the group interview, I would
Randy Atcherkin with PMH OKC says,
say 1 out of every 5. I've actually hired 5.
Of my time that I scheduled for interviews.
After the group interview, I would say 1 out of every 5. I've actually hired, and I've saved myself a lot of time, a lot of money.
We actually have cut our interviews to a fraction of the time, and we have a formal process that makes us feel confident.
Jeffrey Ferwida. This is another lady here by the name of, well, the company's called The Laundry Barn. And I want to tell you, her name is Sarah Higbee. She says,
instead of now scheduling out individual interviews, all I have to do is schedule one time, one day a week that I'm going to do group interviews.
Every week, we consistently have people come to that group interview, but we don't really worry about it because it's every week.
It takes a lot of stress out of trying to have
John Cook with QualityServices.com.
good workers.
In the long run, it saves so much time.
Chad Ward says in the long run it saves a lot of time. Brandon Brown says,
I've hired 2 great employees.
It saves time.
Jason Lett from Lake Martin Mini Mall.
It saves energy. We are able to sort through candidates very quickly and easily. With 18 people coming in and only
Michael Lepsch, I believe, with the Arcade 92 here. We have so many, hundreds, at this point, maybe even thousands of business owners all across the country who are using the system we teach now to free up their time. It's unbelievable how much time you get back when you don't try to coach up the jackasses. Just freaking fire them.
It saves time. It saves energy. We are able to sort through candidates very quickly and easily.
Somebody right now is offended who's listening to this show, and the problem is, if you're offended by this, you're not an entrepreneur. Get off this show. Get yourself to a Tony Robbins seminar. Go get fired up. Get fired up. Go listen to Gary Vee. Find a show that's going to fire you up and give you that superficial motivation that you need. This show is for people who are sufficiently motivated, who just want to know how to make it work.
With 18 people coming in and only about 3 of them standing out, I saved all that time and not having to meet 15 other people.
Now think about this. Somebody out there is offended right now, and that's because you are not an entrepreneur. And you are saying, everyone deserves a chance. And what if someone's going through something? Go to church. Go to church if you're going through something. Go to church. Go to church if you're not going through something. Just go to church. Clay, this is offensive. This is a business show. I don't want to know about church. Well, then that's why your life is screwed up. I mean, it's unbelievable. You can't go out there and have a life completely free of principles and then be successful. You just can't. You don't have to be a Christian to be financially successful, but if you don't have any boundaries in your life's going to be terrible. True. Jason, I have stats right here that are showing right now. This is on the page, thrivetimeshow.com / does it work group interview. If you can put a link to this page, the group interview. Right now, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, we now know that 1 in 4 women are contracting an STD before the age of 18. 1 in 4. Breck, how does one get a sexually transmitted disease? Do you get one by living a life of celibacy?
No.
Do you live a life of maintaining celibacy before marriage?
I did.
Is that how you? That's how you avoided an STD?
I practice abstinence before marriage.
Wait a minute. Because you practice abstinence.
I'm a man of principle.
Wait a second. Because you practice abstinence, you're saying you didn't get an STD?
I did not.
But I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are saying that all kids should get what kind of a vaccination right now so they don't develop a certain kind of cancer caused from STDs?
Yeah, they have a vaccine for cervical cancer for girls.
Yeah, and the argument is everyone should have that shot.
Right.
Why?
Well, because kids are going to be participating in promiscuous sex, that parents can't control that, so you need to go ahead and protect them all anyway.
I have never had an STD, and I think to myself, how? Well, I was thinking the other day. This is what I was thinking. As the other day, I thought about this for just like 2 or 3 hours. I was thinking, man. Right now, as I'm having sex with my wife for 2 or 3 hours, Brett.
Awesome.
I'm just kidding.
Go you.
I'm not as I was rounding up the first hour of sex, just finishing that first hour of sex, marital sex. I was thinking to myself, I've only had sex with this woman, and she's only had sex with me. I wonder if this has anything to do with the fact that I don't have an STD. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to ask Breck on the show. And so then I realized, what am I saying? I'm having sex while thinking about Dr. Breck. I need to move on. And so I realized I got to get out of this doom loop. So it took me, after the next 2 hours of having consistent sex, I then realized, wow, I've just set another record for myself. And so
Awesome.
I thought, but I can't talk about that kind of thing on this show because I don't want to offend somebody out there. I can't do that. So let's go back to the audio. Speaking of marital sex, let's listen to what Kevin Thomas has to say about the group interview.
We would have the opportunity to interview 15 people in 45 minutes, which would save myself money and my team hours.
We will have anywhere from 8 to 15 people every week say that they will be.
Steve Currington, this is with Total Lending Concepts, one of the highest producing mortgage companies in Tulsa, says,
8 to 15 people every week say that they will be there in RSVP, and 1 to 3 will show up every week.
Having the group
Daniel Ramos in Amarillo, Texas, says,
group interviews has drastically improved my business. My employees are no longer holding me hostage.
We were able to.
Dr. Jay Schroeder in Nashville, Tennessee, says,
hire to replace.
Some pressure on the people who are here to realize that their jobs need to be done well.
Stuart Weichel. I love this guy. Stuart's
awesome.
He asked a few questions and we answered him on the show. I've run into him at the podcast, at the conferences. Mm-hmm. I tend to have my best conversations with Stuart as either he's walking into the restroom or I'm walking out. That's where most of our connections have happened. Stuart Weichel.
Some pressure on the people who are here to realize that their jobs need to be done well, or someone else will be doing them.
Well, they know that, hey, if I don't perform.
How many of these do we need to listen to before we have resolved in our mind that what I'm saying is true, Jason, that we have to define the expectations, clearly define the carrots and sticks. Mm-hmm. Step 3, follow up in physics. Step 4, never stop recruiting. I mean, how many of these do we have to play before we've resolved in our mind that this is how it works?
I would say that everybody who is still questioning this, click on the Does It Work link, click on the group interview tab, and then just watch it over and over and over until you don't have any questions about it anymore.
I feel like there's going to be some there's somebody out there that has some pushback about this.
I would say most of the people that you just played clips from probably didn't initially buy in, and I was one of those people. And I think I would venture to say that most people are challenged by it who've never done it before, who've not experienced it from one side or the other. But it absolutely saves you time. It absolutely will save you money and energy in the long run. So yeah, being somebody who was challenged by it and initially questioned it, I have fully bought in now.
I'm going to read some notable quotables from The Power of Why by Simon Sinek, my favorite book. It's called Start With Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. This is my favorite book to attack. I love to attack this book. I never miss an opportunity to attack this book. But it says, all organizations start with why, but only great ones keep their why clear year after year. Okay, Simon Sinek, I will give you 1 mega point, and I agree with you on that point. It's important that you have the why clearly defined. However, I will disagree with your book title, which is Start With Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. Because Simon Sinek, I think that, Jesus, the guy, we use our calendar is defined by his life, BC before Christ and AD after death. We define our calendar based upon his life, and Jesus couldn't seem to get all 12 apostles to follow him. In fact, Judas turned him in. Judas betrayed him for some money, right? Judas betrayed Jesus. Peter denied he even knew Jesus. So I don't think that if Jesus wasn't able to motivate everyone to do the right thing, how are you going to be able to? Another example would be, there's this guy in the Bible, if you believe in the Bible, there was this guy named Luke E. Eifer, was his rap name? Luke E. Eifer. Some might call him Lucifer. Some might call him Satan or Satan. But he started out as what, Dr. Breck, as the story goes in the Bible?
My best understanding is he was one of the higher level angels.
So, wait a minute. He was one of the higher level angels, and then he said, I don't like this up here. He got jealous, upset, something happened.
A little proud of himself, got a little full of himself, and
he became sick.
Decided to challenge God.
So you're saying that, where is that even God couldn't make everybody, even an angel, couldn't inspire everyone. So then Simon Sinek, this is where I really, really get mad at you. And you get mad at me. We go around and around in a circle, and at some point I'd love to have you on the show to argue with you because I can't handle it. But you wrote here in your book, you said, there are only two ways to influence human behavior. You can manipulate it or you can inspire it. I don't have a problem with manipulating it. If you know you're going to be fired for not doing your job, I think that works
that's
well.
Manipulation, yeah.
If that's manipulation, and by the way, I don't even care if I don't even have that thought. Or in the military, guys, how many of you guys want to do PT this morning? And how many of you want to eat these delicious MREs? No, they don't do that. But Simon Sinek lives in this world where he's trying to say that if you're a good leader, you can inspire everyone to do a good job. And I've never seen it happen. I've never met a very successful entrepreneur who can get everyone on their team to want to do their job.
Maybe it's everyone that's still here. Everybody else we've gotten rid of.
I'm just saying, if you're out there right now and you're struggling to get your team to do their job, fire the people on the team who won't do their job. But Clay, everyone deserves a working wage and a living wage. And I was at this Bernie Sanders rally, and we all were fired up because everyone deserves $15 an hour. And you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You are an idiot if you think that way. So again, how do you make your team more productive? Final recap. Step 1, define the expectations. Step 2, clearly define the carrot and the sticks. Step 3, follow up in physics. Step 4, never stop recruiting, never stop doing the group interview. And we like to end each and every show with a boom, so we're going to do the boom thing. But these mics are hot, so we got to take one giant step back for mankind as we bring home the boom. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom!
It's business time. It's business time. It's business. It's business time. That's what you're trying to say. You're trying to say, let's get down to business. It's business time.